Hello hunters, this is Azortharion, and today we've got some big news. There are patch 11.1 changes announced for hunters, and there's a ton to unpack. So there's a total spec rework, hero talent reworks and updates, new set bonuses, and a bunch of other stuff. So this is going to be a long one, and it's mostly unscripted, so strap in as I take you through what hunter might look like in patch 11.1. Before we dive in though, I just want to make one thing clear. This video isn't about numbers, and at this stage, numbers are irrelevant and honestly unpredictable. None of these changes indicate how good or bad Hunter will be next season. Instead, I'll be focusing more on what matters right now, which is the playstyle, the flow, and how the specs might feel to play going forward, of course, just based on the written changes that we have so far. Also, just gonna get on my preachy box here. While I do know a lot about Hunter and played at a high level, at the end of the day, I'm just some guy with opinions. And even if my opinions are more informed than most, sort of objectively speaking, that doesn't make them gospel or even necessarily valid for you. So I highly encourage you to, get on the PTR when it comes out, make your own opinions, and share those in the relevant feedback portals to Blizzard. There's also a good chance that I'll misinterpret something here or there, and that's okay. We're all in this together, and my goal is just to give you a solid rundown so you can understand what's happening without needing to dig through all the nitty-gritty yourself, since I know not everyone has the time or interest to stay glued to WoW like I do. So let's get into it. I've got my spreadsheet here with all the changes summarized, and I'll be walking through them spec by spec, sharing my thoughts as we go. Alright, so starting out here, and you can also see one more thing here on the spreadsheet, I've color-coded basically what I think about each change. So like green changes are good, blue changes are great, like really good. Yellow ones are kind of like sort of neutral or like I don't really know yet. And then red ones are kind of like bad or like A tier. All right, let's get started. So first of all, specializations for hunter pets can now be changed in the stable via drop-down menu. In other words, you can now change your pet spec regardless of what kind of pet it is. This is freaking amazing. That means you can have the actual pet that you want visually. Beast Mastery might still slightly prefer to use a Spirit Beast over others, but that's a very minor thing, and for most people, you don't really have to care about it. Other than that, you can basically use the pet you want in most cases, at least in PvE, so that's really good. Kindling Flare has been redesigned, now increases the radius of flare by 50%. Okay, whatever, let's move on. Territorial Instincts has been redesigned. It now reduces the cooldown of Intimidation by 10 seconds and no longer summons a pet for you if you do not have a pet out. So what this really means is just, practically speaking, 55-second cooldown of Intimidation now becomes 50 seconds. That's pretty good. Wilderness Medicine updated. Basically, it buffs your Natural Mending talent, which is what causes your focus spending to reduce the reduce the cooldown of acceleration. This will now be buffed, and now you get even shorter cooldowns on acceleration, so more regular self-healing, still on the GCD and all that, but it's very good for our self-sustain that we have more access to acceleration, so this is a great change. We have this choice node, or not a choice node, but like a sub-node of misdirection that just reduces the cooldown by 5 seconds on top of making it reduce your pet damage taken. So this is just great for open world, solo content, that kind of thing. Just a good change all around. This is a PvP change for Raw Sacrifice. Honestly, I'm just going to skip it because I don't know much about PvP, so there you go. Intimidation now is a unique variant when you're in Marksmanship spec that does not require line of sight and uses your Spotting Eagle. We'll get to the Spotting Eagle stuff later on, but basically it means MM now has a pet stun Intimidation, and you don't need a talent, and it will just work without a pet at all. So that's great. Explosive Shot projectile speed increased, so as we'll see later on, especially for Marksmanship, Explosive Shot's role in the rotation is now far more significant. And currently, Explosive Shot has its travel time, which is like 40 yards a second. On top of that, it takes 3 seconds to actually go off, which means if you're standing at 40-yard range, it can take 4 seconds from when you press it to when it actually does damage, even though it's an instant cast. They've sped this up a little bit, so you'll have fewer situations where mobs die while they'll still have the explosive shot ticking down on them. It's a pretty minor thing though. Eyes of the Beast is now only survival and BM, And Eagle Eye is now only for MM. This is kind of flavor. I'm sure there's like one person out there who'll be upset by this, who really like these abilities, but they're so rarely used, I don't really think it's a big deal, so I just left them neutral. Freezing Trap now breaks based on small damage instead of any damage. So anyone who in Dragonflight procced Mythic Farak, for example, and you had the trap and some stupid Helm enchant proc or whatever, some weird item that does random damage would proc on your trapped mob and break the trap. Hopefully that will happen less now, but of course, I don't know exactly what the small damage threshold will be, but it's overall just a good change. And then there's just some tooltip updates, nothing interesting there. Here come the Dark Ranger specific changes. Not a lot going on here, it's mostly just streamlining some things. So Withering Fire has been updated. Withering Fire now triggers from Black Arrow, so during True Shot / Beast of Wrath, and no longer auto-fires Black Arrow instead of gaining Death Blow. So this just means that like all the effects that you previously got from Withering Fire are now triggered from just casting the Black Arrow, instead of being this sort of like every X amount of casts of Beast of the Wrath, for example, would trigger the Withering Fire and stuff. It's just way more straightforward and more intuitive. I don't know about the numbers yet, but it's overall a good change. And it'll also flatten out the RNG as they talk about in the developer's note here. They also fixed some, so the Bleak Powder Cone that would just, sometimes not work. Like Bleak Powder would just fail to cleave, or sometimes previously would ninja pull stuff that you didn't intend it to. So they've also hopefully fixed that a little bit. So good. All right. Next up is the complete pack leader rework. So starting out with the fundamental mechanic of the new pack leader is Howl of the Pack Leader. Every 30 seconds, your next kill command summons the aid of a bear, wyvern, or boar. So basically, it seems to be like 1 in 3 chance of you getting either proc whenever you trigger this. And your bear will leap into the fray, doing heavy AoE damage on up to 8 targets. That deals like a 8-second heavy dot. Or not necessarily 8 second, but it deals a powerful dot while it's up. Your wyvern just gives you and your pet a damage increase. And your boar will do a heavy single target damage is what they indicate, and also a little bit of AoE. So it seems to be, bear is like full on AoE, wyvern is sort of universal, and the boar is single target biased, but kind of universal as well. So what I've written here is, so I don't really like any of these effects that they're so fond of, where it's like every X seconds or every X casts of Y, your next set will do, I don't know what the next, what the letter would be, but you get the idea, right? Because you don't get to control exactly when they happen. It'll just be like every 30 seconds or whatever, your kill command, whether you want it to or not, is going to trigger this thing. And if you don't want it to proc now, if you want to hold it for the next pack, well, that just sucks. There's nothing you can do about it. Another thing I don't really like about this one is just that, you don't get to control what it sends in. I mean, they're all pretty good probably, but if you go into a huge pack and you need some AoE burst and you really want, for example, the bear with its huge AoE dot, but you don't get it for your burst, then you just, okay, well, whatever. If you get the boar instead, then it'll just do heavy single target damage, which is nice for prio, I guess, but sometimes you just want to do heavy AoE. Or like the wyvern, which is, universal, but it's probably not going to be as good at AoE as the bear, and it's probably not going to be as good at a single target as the boar. So I just don't like how it's like layers of RNG, right? It's like, well, yeah, not a huge fan of this basically. All right, next up, Better Together. How the pack leader's cooldown is reduced to 25 seconds instead of 30, and you gain an extra 5% of your attack power. I don't. So this is just a passive buff to the pets, and yeah, so it's 25-second cooldown instead, whatever, I guess. Remember, with hero talents, you will get all of the talents, so you don't really have to make a deep choice or anything. Also, I should put some music on, so let me just sort that out on Spotify here. I should have done this before, but I told you it's an unscripted video. All right. Well, let me see. Well, music. Sorry for this. Okay, cool. So, new talent, Dire Summons. So, kill command reduces the cooldown of Howl of the Pack Leader by 1 second. Okay, so it starts at 25 seconds. Every time you kill command, it'll go down by 1 second. every time you either Cobra, Raptor, or Mongoose, so this is like BM, Cobra, Survival, Raptor, Mongoose, it'll reduce the cooldown of Howl of the Pack Leader by even further. So, this puts more emphasis on basically you keeping high uptime. The more spells you cast, the more procs you will get. I still don't like that it's RNG and that you may proc it when you don't want to, but the shorter the cooldown becomes, the less of a problem that is. So I don't know what the ultimate cooldown will end up being. So we'll see about that. Next up is Pack Mentality. Howl of the Pack Leader causes your next kill command to deal 50% increased damage for BM or generate an additional stack of Tip of the Spear. This is pretty good. It's a bit of sort of add a little bit of dynamics to you. Like it's a proc that you'll react to and it's gonna feel good when it does. Not that special, but I like it. New talent, Ursine Fury. Is that how it's pronounced? Ursin? I don't know. Your bear's periodic damage has a 10% chance to reduce the cooldown of kill command Butchery or Flanking Strike by 1 or 2 seconds, depending on BM or Survival. I mean, great, but only if you get the bear. That's the thing, which you could have Ursine Fury or whatever talented, and it's a choice node, right? So it's actually something you have to choose. And then you just don't get that many bear procs when it matters on an AoE fight or whatever, and it's just gonna suck. So, yeah, I don't know. And it's a choice node with Envenomed Fangs, which is initial damage from your bear, will consume Serpent Sting from up to 8 nearby targets, dealing all of that dot damage immediately. So, I can't help but notice that both of these effects are tied to the bear, and that's why I write like, this is great. If you get a bear proc. Like, what if you don't get bear? Like, whatever you choose of these choice nodes will be kind of bad. So, yeah, I don't know. I just don't like it that much. Alright. Next up is Fury of the Wyvern, which is tied to the Wyvern. Your pet's attacks increase your Wyvern's damage bonus by 1% up to 10%. And casting abilities extends the duration of your Wyvern up to 10 additional seconds. It doesn't say how long it lasts baseline, but I assume it'll have pretty high uptime. But again, like, if you don't get the Wyvern proc, I mean, I think it's going to be a thing where you rotate through these quite a bit, and they have a duration that means you will probably have overlapping pet buffs from Howl of the Pack Leader. So they will have high uptime. It's not like this will ever be useless, but I think it's just gonna feel bad knowing that you have, like, symbol like this powerful choice node invested in a bear, and then you don't get a bear. Like, the more power you invest in any one of these three, the more terrible it's going to feel when you don't get the animal you want in a clutch moment. That's basically my thinking. Next up is a Hawk Strider. So this is for the boar. Each time your boar deals damage, your next Cobra Shot / Raptor Strike / Mongoose Bite strikes an additional target. So fine, Cobra Shot doesn't do that much damage, but whatever, it'll cleave a bit. Beast Mastery Hunters also gain increased damage. It's a bit of 2-target cleave, which is not bad. Especially given that the whole idea of boar seems to be mainly single target, but also a bit of cleave. And you gain increased Cobra Shot damage. And you have a 25% chance to gain Mongoose Fury. So I don't know if this last part relies on you being spec'd into Mongoose Bite, or if you just get it either way. We'll see how that works. But yeah, it's fine. Like, it's whatever. Alright, next up. No Mercy. Damage from your kill shot sends your pets into a rage, causing all active pets within 20 yards and your bear to pounce to the target and attack it. So I really like this. I finally, BM has always had Killshot in its kit, but it's always been like barely worth pressing, really weak and feels lame. Well, now Killshot actually has implications for your pets and presumably a cool visual effect, and I actually really like this. That's why I've marked it blue. It just makes Killshot a rewarding button to press for BM instead of this really lame filler. So, fan of that so far. Next up is Shell Cover. When dropping below 40% health, you get a turtle, and you reduce the damage you take by 10% for 6 seconds. And that can occur once every 2 minutes. It's a little bit of passive defensibility, but the thing is, like, if you've dropped below 40% health, chances are it was a big hitter and you're not taking all that much damage afterwards. If you have a dot that's really slamming you, then yeah, I mean, 10% reduced damage on maybe 3 ticks of it, if it's a dot that ticks every 2 seconds. I'm just not very impressed by this as a defensive node. And Pack Leader is already struggling a bit in that regard compared to the other hero talents. So pretty damn lame and weak is what I've written here. Alright. Next up is Slicked Shoes. When disengage removes a movement impairing effect, which is often, its cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds. So this is pretty neat. You won't... It's not that often that disengage is removing movement impairing effects, honestly, but when it happens and you get the shorter cooldown, that's nice. It can be nice in fights that regularly trap you in things like, let's say, Ansarek tombs. I don't know if they would technically count as movement impairing for the purposes of this, but you get the idea, right? Or, so this is a choice node with another new talent, Horsehair Tether. When an enemy is stunned by Binding Shot, it's dragged to the center of the Binding Shot. Now, I really like this because what happens with Binding Shot is things will often get, because of their hitboxes or whatever, they won't get stunned in the exact same place. And you can end up with, or especially if they're traveling in different directions for whatever reason, like let's say mobs that are fixating mobs that are on different targets going in different directions. They'll both get bound, but they'll be on opposite sides of it, and AoE won't be as effective on them, and it's just very annoying. Well, I really like the vibe of this, where they get stunned, they get pulled to the center, and this happens to all of them. This means that Binding Shot can also be used as... It's not really a grip sort of mechanic, because you do need them to be close or stacked enough to even be around the Binding Shot to begin with, but it does clump things up a little nicer than before, and I guess you can use it as a... You can use it as a mini knock. Like, imagine this, like, you know that a bunch of slowable or bindable mobs are going to spawn. You put the Binding Shot a little bit, like, so that its center is a little bit behind them where they spawn, but they're still within its radius. Then, when they trigger, they'll get pulled back to a place that's, like, in front of where they actually started. So, or I should say behind where they actually started. So, I hope that makes sense, but I think once you play with it, it'll make a lot of sense. Next up is Lead from the Front. So this is like the capstone as far as I can tell. Casting Beastly Wrath / Coordinated Assault summons the aid of a beast and increases the damage dealt by your beast by 25% for 12 seconds. This seems insanely strong for BM. Well, I don't know exactly the aid of a beast and like what is meant by... Increases the damage dealt by your beasts, capital B. Because this is the, like, is it Die Beast? Because only BM has that. Or is it just this beast? It summons the aid of a beast. But then why does it say beasts plural? I don't know exactly. But in any case, I mean, Beast and Wrath's cooldown is like, you know, a quarter or a fifth of Coordinated Assault. So it's going to trigger way more often for BM. And presumably, this beast, whatever, will scale with your... BM mastery more powerfully than your survival mastery, which also increases pet damage. So, yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. I mean, it's, honestly, even if it's strong or whatever, it's kind of passive and boring in my opinion. It's just an extra pet or multiple pets. I don't really know exactly based on the wording. All right, that's it for Pack Leader. The whole rework is there. Next up is Sentinel. I should change the font size in this, shouldn't I? So Sentinel wasn't really reworked, but they did address some of the main complaints and mechanical things that people wanted. So there's a lot of changes here, like Lunar Storm. It's all about Lunar Storm, basically. Its damage is increased. It is bigger. It lasts longer. It doesn't trigger quite as often. It triggers every 30 seconds instead of every 15 seconds. It does a little bit of extra damage because it's initial as well. Its visual has been updated. There are 2 UI changes where instead of needing a fancy weak aura to actually track if it's off cooldown, like it can be triggered, it will actually show like in the default UI, and it will also show when it is ready to be fired in the UI. So both of these are really good. Doesn't matter that much for us nerds who have fancy UIs, but the baseline experience will be much better. So this is good. But here's the big one that you've all been waiting for a long time. Lunar Storm now follows its target very slowly. So we'll see how slow it is, but there will still be a penalty when the tank moves away, I'm sure. But it'll probably feel a bit less terrible, at least that's what I'm hoping. We'll see. They ride very slowly, so who knows if it's like a glacier and it just never catches up with you know, the kind of movement that a tank might make. We'll see about it, but just the fact that it moves at all is a huge thing, and that's why I've marked it blue. All right. Next up is Beast Mastery. So they write that they're pretty happy with how Beast Mastery is playing and performing, so they're just adding some more mechanics to it. And especially in terms of tuning its AoE, so they've been struggling with tuning its AoE without touching its single target too much. So they've added a new talent, Dire Cleave. When you summon Dire Beasts, which happens through your kill commands and also by pressing the button, they all gain Beast Cleave at 100% effectiveness for 8 seconds. So cleaving Dire Beast, which is great. It's similar to the set bonus that we had in Emirdrasil, Late Dragonflight. So that's pretty good. Another new talent is Poisoned Barbs. Direct damage from Barb Shot, which happens all the time, has a 30% chance to explode on impact, dealing nature damage to nearby enemies. Damage reduced beyond 8 targets. So basically, Barb Shot AoE is now a thing. Like, it'll just splash AoE damage, and it'll proc pretty often. We don't know exactly how much damage it'll do, but just the fact that Barb Shot, since it's a button that we press so much, has relevance in AoE is a very good thing in my opinion. Next up, and this is an interesting one, Solitary Companion. Your pet damage is increased by 35% and your pet size is increased by 10%. Choice node with Animal Companion. So as they write here, essentially, BM hunters will now get to choose if you want 2 smaller pets that are a bit weaker, or if you want to invest all of your power into one huge pet. Now, in theory, they could basically tune these so they're completely equal. But what they write here is that the talent should allow you to opt in for solo pet beast mastery with only a marginal throughput loss. So depending on how they tune how much damage you gain, they can change how marginal this is one way or the other. I mean, I personally think that it should just be completely neutral. If it was completely neutral mathematically though, you would, if you were a min-maxer, you would always choose a single pet because the animal companion moves more slowly and stuff. But I think it's a good start. I mean, overall, I think it's a great change. I've marked it blue for a reason, because it's an amazing start that you actually get to make this choice instead of being forced to use 2 pets. But we'll see how the math shakes out on what the actual numbers difference is going to be. But if I had one bit of feedback, it would be, please make them just straight up numerically equal. Then all the min-maxers will just choose a single pet, but you won't be inting if you choose to have 2 pets or whatever you choose. So, yeah. Alright, next up is Stomp is updated. It deals separate damage instances between its primary and secondary targets. I wrote here that basically it's 2 AM. I don't fully understand this change. Or I understand what the change does, but I don't understand what it achieves. So there's probably something obvious. Let me know in the comments below. Next up, Serpent Sting damage increased by 50%. That's cool, kind of whatever. Then yellow here I put, you might think like, why am I marking a straight up buff as yellow? Well, barrage damage is doubled and its focus cost is reduced by 33%. So obviously buffs are great, but the thing is, as I write here, did anyone ask for barrage to be made good? Like, it's in the tree now and it's completely worthless, and I think everyone was pretty much fine with that. But now it might not be useless anymore. I mean, we'll see. Yeah, that's why I kind of put neutral on it, because it's like, okay, it's a buff, but I don't think the idea of pressing barrage as BM does not excite me in any way whatsoever. But you let me know what you think in the comments. Alpha Predator now increases kill commands damage multiplicatively rather than additively. So this just ensures that Alpha Predator is not scaling as presumably with its base damage before a bunch of modifiers that you can have. It's basically just a little buff to it, nothing special. Another one is, and I was a bit confused by this one, just like the Stomp thing, like I probably missed something, let me know what this means in the comments. Additional kill shots fired from Hunter's Prey will now target enemies regardless of health percentage. So, yeah, I just don't know, like, is it a bug fix where they would not go off on targets that weren't in execute range, or would it preferentially go onto sub 20% HP targets and now it no longer does that? I just don't know. Moving on. Dire Command summon chance reduced to 20%, was 30%. So this is when you press kill command, you have a chance to summon Dire Beast. That chance has been reduced a bit, but Dire Beast in general is being updated, so that's probably fair. I put neutral, whatever. Dire Beast's visual effects have been updated, so that's probably gonna look good. Dire Beasts now leap to the target when summoned. They already kind of did. Like they would sort of charge in. I don't know if there's a technical difference between leaping and charging. We'll see. It might just be a visual thing. I put good because I wasn't sure. Dire Frenzy is now 2.0 and replaces Basilisk Collar. So, and Basilisk Collar has been removed. So Basilisk Collar being removed is great. No one really liked it. It was, I mean, it's kind of an infamous talent at this point. But they've turning a 1-point node into a 2-point node, and Dire Frenzy is a very powerful node that will buff Dire Beasts a lot. So it might be okay, but I mean, if you ever ask anyone, would you rather have this powerful talent be a 2-pointer or a 1-pointer? No one is ever going to answer 2-pointer, right? So I still think it's overall good to buff Dire Beasts, compensating for the fact that we'll have fewer of them. Venom Spite has also been removed, which is what caused Kill Shot to apply Serpent Sting. It wasn't really that interesting, and now it's gone. So that's fine. Alright. Here's the big one. Yeah, this is huge. So Marksmanship has been completely reworked. So I'm just going to read the developer's note, and then we're just going to tackle it, and we're going to sort of build this pick up from the ground up, and I'm going to try to explain as much to you as I can about how it's going to play. So we're looking to reimagine Marksmanship's sharpshooter fantasy and reconcile some large spec friction points, such as Lone Wolf. Undermined is seeing Marksmanship lose their pet functionalities, and it is instead joined in battle by a unique eagle pet that will exist outside of the game space, but continue to support you in combat in a uniquely Marksmanship way. Outside of the game space, so it's invisible, but it will still be there. I mean, I don't know what to make of that. It would be cool if it was in the game space, like visually, but whatever. But yeah, MM does not have a pet anymore. It's no longer no wolf where you choose. It just doesn't have a pet. Straight up. It has an eagle companion now. Like, I don't know, Eivor in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's maybe a deep cut because no one likes that game, I think. But yeah, there you go. Alright. So, new ability, Harrier's Cry, learned at level 48. So this is baseline. It's our new Bloodlust. So, you know, your eagle descends from the skies with a screech, giving the signal to attack. I'm sure it's going to have a cool sound effect. And it's Lust. Marksmanship now has proper Bloodlust. No pet required, nothing fancy. It's just straight up built in. Amazing change, and we've been wanting this for a super long time. And I also like that it's like unique in its flavor. It's not just Primal Rage, it's Harrier's Cry, and hopefully it'll have a unique sound effect and all that stuff. So very happy with that change, very cool. Next up is Manhunter. So this is just... So Marksmanship now no longer has the ability to use a Mortal Wounds pet, which is what reduces enemy healing taken by 25%. It says damaging a player. So maybe this is just a PvP thing. But the thing is, like, the Mortal Wounds thing from pets, that worked on mobs. So I don't know if it's a typo that it says player, or if it's only a PvP thing, in which case that kind of sucks. I will give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that it's meant to be, you know, all targets, which makes it a good change. All right, next up. So this is one of the most central mechanics of... it's important that you understand this, because it's a central mechanic to the new Marksmanship, and a lot of other mechanics and talents and stuff will key off of this thing. So, Eyes in the Sky. You gain the aid of a spotting eagle. Damaging an enemy with an ability empowered by precise shots. So there will be arcane shots, multi-shots, but also, going forward, it will be potentially kill shots and other stuff. Has a 30% chance to cause your spotting eagle to mark your target. It will apply what's called Spotter's Mark. Enemies marked by a spotting eagle take 10% increased damage from your aim shot. And that replaces Call Pet and all associated pet abilities. So this is basically from level 13, your pet is gone, and it's basically replaced by this eagle and this mechanic attached to it. Now, I find this kind of boring. Like, you get a proc sometimes that will make your aim shot do 10% increased damage. Now, there are talents that will buff it to be a much bigger increase than that, but it's still kind of boring in my opinion. But I guess it's better than nothing, and to be honest, like, when you consider what a pet did, or what Lone Wolf did before, it is being compared to nothing, so we are gaining something. I just think maybe it could have been a bit more interesting, that's all. Next up is new talent, aspect of the Hydra. Aimed, rapid, and arcane now hit a second target nearby for 40% of the damage. Choice note with trick shots. So, marksmanship now has a form of 2-target cleave. It's not that strong, like it's 40% of the original damage. Trick shots is 75%, so it's like roughly half the value of trick shots on a second target. However, it does key off arcane shot, which trick shots doesn't. So I've marked it blue because I'm excited about marksmanship getting 2-target cleave. But I think it might be a little bit lackluster in terms, like, I mean, it would be picked for pure 2-target fights for sure, but outside of that, I just don't know. Alright, next up, improve Spotter's Mark. It just improves the Spotter's Mark damage to presumably 30%. I think it's kind of boring, but better than nothing, I guess. Next up, moving target. Consuming precise shots increases the damage of a next aim shot by 20%, so that's kind of like our current set bonus, and grants Streamline. So Streamline is, we have it already, but it's been changed a little bit, and I think it's best I introduce Streamline now. So let me just do a little bit of scrolling here. Also spoiling you on the rest of the sheet. Yeah, so Streamline is still rapid fire damage increase, but casting rapid fire grants Streamline, still the case, and your next aim shot has a 20% reduced cast time, which stacks up to 2 times. This is the new part, is that it stacks, basically. Okay. So, let me just find where I was. Yeah, okay, so now instead of just casting rapid fire giving you Streamline, now you get it whenever you consume your precise shots, which means by weaving rapid fires and arcanes between aim shots, you're stacking up to 2 stacks of Streamline that will make all of your aim shots faster. And this will be really relevant because aim shot is now baseline super slow to cast. And let me just scroll a little bit. So aim shots base cast time is increased to 3 seconds from 2.5. But we now have way more active ways of reducing the cast time of it. And I think that on average, aim shot's cast time is actually going to be similar or shorter than it was before. But we'll get into the details of that. But yeah, that's basically what we're looking at. Another new talent, Obsidian Tipped Ammunition. Sounds very cool. The damage of aim shot, the damage of auto shot is increased by 25%, and its critical strike chance is increased by 15%. Choice note with on target. So, like, it just buffs auto shot. To me, that seems very boring. It synergizes with our tier set, which we'll see later on. But, yeah, I just find it kind of lame. It's a choice note with on target. So on target is really cool. So consuming Spotter's Mark, which you will do like all the time with an aim shot, grants 4% increased haste for 10 seconds, stacking up to 4 times. Now stacking this up is not always going to be trivial, I feel like, but we'll see. But basically, like if you can maintain this, and I think you can, on a single target, well, not necessarily a single target, just at all, you can have 16% baseline haste, just basically built into your kit, which, you know, on top of the streamline changes and all the cast time benefits for aim shot, will speed up marksmanship quite a bit, I expect. So I quite like this, and I think it's completely insane that it's a choice note with on obsidian tipped ammunition, which is the most lame auto shot damage increase imaginable. Like, I really hope that on target will be picked at all times, because obsidian tipped ammunition is gonna put me to sleep. Alright. Next up is Shrapnel Shot. New talent. Damaging an enemy with explosive shot increases the damage they receive from your next arcane or multi by 30%. So nothing crazy, but it's a little bit of extra sort of mechanic here. It means that you will basically always try to follow up your explosive shots with an arcane or multi-shot. And in turn, your arcane and arcanes will obviously be weaved in between aim shots. So there's a lot of like sort of stringing together particular sequences of abilities that will benefit from each other. And I kind of like this sort of gameplay. So yeah, I'm quite a fan of this one. Another new talent, Magnetic Gunpowder. Consuming precise shots reduces the cooldown of explosive shot by 2 seconds. Okay, so we're going to be casting way more explosive shots in general. And consuming lock and load reduces the cooldown of explosive shot by 8 seconds. So lock and load procs have a huge impact because they give you more explosive shots. When I sort of look at all this, I'm kind of thinking, okay, haste is probably going to be a pretty good stat. But I mean, I don't know. They have removed a lot of the effects that made crit so especially powerful for MM. So we'll see. I mean, I think it could be a really fast-paced, high-haste sort of spec. And it's going to be a lot more engaging than it was before. Basically, I really like the direction things are going in so far. And that so now there's a big block of blue. Let's get into this. A new talent, Precise Detonation. Casting Explosive Shot grants Streamline. Okay, cool. So another source of reducing our aim shot cast time. So we want to weave these abilities, all these activations of Streamline between our aim shots. Basically, we'll always want to... I think that we'll always want to try and cast aim shot with 2 stacks of Streamline. And we have many ways of generating those stacks of Streamline. So Explosive Shot is one, Arcane is another, Kill Shot is another, as we'll see with future talents. Yeah, it's gonna... I think it's great. But yeah, it grants Streamline, and when aim shot damages a target affected by Explosive Shot instantly explodes, dealing 25% increased damage. So this, just like the thing I was mentioning earlier, like, we have all these abilities that sort of are... like, you want to hit things in a particular order. Which I really rather like. So the only... yeah, so what was the thing I was looking at just before? Yeah, so damaging an enemy with Explosive Shot increases the damage you receive from your next Arcane. So for example, you might go Explosive Shot into Aim Shot, which is going to trigger the Explosive Shot early and deal 25% extra damage with that Explosive Shot. And in turn, that's going to consume your Streamline stacks. And then you're going to follow that up with a Precise Shots, which is going to be buffed by both your Precise Shots buff from... it's going to be followed up by an Arcane. That's going to be buffed both by Shrapnel Shot, which is the Explosive Shot improves the damage of your next Arcane, and Precise Shots itself. So maybe that was a little bit convoluted, but basically I really like how you can set together these combos with interdependent abilities. Alright. On target we've already talked about. So next up is a new talent, Quick Draw. Lock and Load now increases the damage of aim shot by 15%. It's probably pretty strong, but it's pretty boring, so I've marked it red. I don't think there should be talents that don't have some sort of potential gameplay implication. But that's just my philosophy. You might disagree, but that's why I've marked it red. Another new talent, Target Acquisition. Consuming Spotter's Mark, which you will do with aim shots, reduces the cooldown of aim shot by 2 seconds. So basically, whenever you press aim shot, because chances are that you're always going to have a Spotter's Mark available for your aim shots, but we'll see about that. It's going to reduce the cooldown of aim shot itself by 2 seconds. So more aim shots is more better. Next up is a 2-pointer talent. It's called Eagle's Accuracy. Spotter's Mark's aim shot damage bonus is increased by 5/10%, depending if you invest 1 or 2 points. This is an extremely lame and boring 2-point talent that I really hope is not locking cool stuff behind it. I don't actually know like the layout of the talent trees. That will be a future thing. But just talent all on its own is just super boring. And the idea of investing 2 talent points into it, it just puts me to sleep, basically. So, yeah. Alright, next up is new talent, Headshot. Kill Shot can now benefit from Precise Shots at 25% effectiveness. So that's pretty small. But consider that the Precise Shots is basically double damage. If it was double damage for Kill Shot, that would be kind of insane. But there are benefits from it, and it consumes it, which means... that will also, contribute to like Streamline and stuff. And it will like consuming Precise Shots with Kill Shot also reduces the cooldown of Explosive Shot. Basically, I really like that you have more ways than just Arcane Shot or Multi-Shot of spending your Precise Shots. So quite happy with this one. Next up is Feathered Frenzy. True Shot sends your Spotting Eagle into a frenzy, instantly applying Spotter's Mark to your target. And during True Shot, your chance to apply Spotter's Mark is increased by 50%. So presumably... all of your Precise Shot, like pretty much all, whenever you Arcane or Kill Shot or Explosive Shot, during True Shot, you will pretty much be nearly guaranteed to apply Spotter's Mark, which will buff your next aim shot by a significant amount, which will in turn buff other things. So I think finally we've reached the point where it's actually worth always spending your Precise Shot stacks during True Shot because of this change. Which is kind of a good thing. In fact, Well, actually, I should really make... I'm going to change this to green. The reason I marked it yellow is because I think Spotter's Mark is kind of boring altogether. But with this particular talent, I think this talent on its own actually works pretty well. So I'll change it to green. Alright, next up is Tensile Bowstring. While True Shot is active, consuming precise shots extends it by 1 second up to 5 seconds. And additionally, it now increases the effectiveness of Streamline by 50%. So instead of being a 20% cast time reduction on aim shot, during True Shot it will be a 30%, which basically means that with 0% haste and nothing else, during True Shot, aim shot will still be a 2-second cast time, which is quite long. But there are other things that can shorten it even further. So Streamline can stack up to twice. So that would mean like with 60% cast time reduction, it would be roughly 1.875 with 0% haste. So still a bit longer than your GCD, but yeah, I think it's alright. Main complaint about this one is why it's only 5 seconds. Like, why not let us stack some extra haste and consume more precise shots and keep extending our True Shot indefinitely, as long as we can generate and spend precise shot stacks, like, I don't know, make marksmanship a good PI target, I don't know. 5 seconds just feels kind of lame. I think this could be a really powerful talent if it was indefinite, and it would just add another element of gameplay that I think would be interesting. Extending your cooldowns I find to be pretty fun. Alright. Next up is Incendiary Ammunition. Bulletstorm now increases your critical strike damage by 2%, and Bulletstorm now stacks up to 5 more times. Now, to understand this, we first have to understand the reworked Bulletstorm. So let me just scroll down a bit here. God, there's so much. My voice is going to be dead by it's going to be so dead by the end of this video. Let me just find the updated Bulletstorm. Which is right here. So now, instead of being triggered by aim shot hitting multiple targets, it's damage from rapid fire that increases the damage of your aim shot by 2% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 15 times. So up to 30% damage increase on your aim shot when you cast rapid fire. Once again, this emphasizes weaving together or weaving rapid fires between your aim shots. New stacks do not refresh duration and are removed upon casting rapid fire. So this means that essentially, in order to not waste a Bulletstorm, you never want to cast 2 rapid fires in between aim shots, but that will almost never be a problem, but something to keep in mind. And they also nerfed a little bit in PvP for some reason. And presumably, since it's damage from rapid fire, will it stack more quickly on AoE? Because, on a single target, it'll hit... Fender Hammer still exists. And so it'll hit, 14 times. So it'll basically stack it fully even on a single target. But of course, with this talent up here, that I've now totally lost track of, Incendiary Ammunition, it will stack up to 5 more times. So you'll need basically 2 targets or more for rapid fire to reliably stack it up to 20 stacks, the Bulletstorm, before your aim shot. Is that how I'm reading it correctly? I think that overall this combo is potent, but I think 2 points of investment for what is a pretty sort of mid-tier interesting mechanic is just a bit too expensive in my opinion. So yeah. Next up is Bullet Hell. Damage from multi-shot and volley reduces the cooldown of rapid fire by 0.25 seconds. Now, note that it says damage from, so this will presumably scale with multiple targets. I don't know if it scales indefinitely, because, okay, if you put down volley on 10 targets, is it just going to, like, instantly wash out the cooldown of rapid fire? Same with multi-shot on a ton of targets? I don't know. I honestly wouldn't mind it. I mean, it is only 0.25 per damage event, but still, if it hits 10 targets, that's 2.5 seconds every single time, and you can spam that stuff. And volley, is that like when it hits the first time, or is it every tick of volley? I don't know. Damage from aim shot reduces the cooldown of volley by 0.25 seconds. That's pretty mid. The first part here is what I've marked the blue for, because I think it's like being able to press more rapid fires and aim shots on AoE and stuff. That is basically what makes marksmanship fun to play. So I'm a big fan of it. Next up is Improved Streamline. So this just improves Streamline's base cast time reduction to 30%, which means that once you add the other talent, it's actually 40% cast time reduction. I forget what talent it was. But that means during true shot, potentially, we are looking at 1.67 second aim shot cast time, which is just above our global cooldown. So with everything stacked up and everything, you can pretty much get aim shot to a point where its cast time is as low as it can be. Like, even if its cast time was shorter than your GCD, that would help movement a bit, but it wouldn't like be an objective DPS increase. So pretty happy with this. It's a choice node with focused aim. And let me just remind ourselves what focused aim does. So this is reduce the cooldown of aim shot by 0.75 seconds when you consume precise shots. We'll get to that later. And I certainly hope that improved streamline will be the pick, but we'll see about that. Next up is Windrunner Quiver. Precise shots can now stack up to 2 times, but its damage bonus is reduced to 90%. Casting aim shot has a 50% chance to grant an additional stack of precise shots. So it's a bit like the old mechanic where it could either generate 1 or 2 stacks. And they've also mentioned, unlike before, now you will consume both stacks of precise shots at once with your arcane shot all the time, not just during true shot, which is what used to be the case. So, I mean, this is pretty neat. It means like 180% when you get 2 stacks. I think that's pretty good. Nothing super special or anything, but I like it. Alright, next up is another insanely boring talent. It's Eagle's Accuracy. Spotter's Mark damage bonus is increased by 5/10%. Another 2-point talent that... Have I made a mistake in my thing here? Eagle's Accuracy. I've listed it twice for some reason. I just copy-pasted from their changes. I think they just listed the same thing twice. Basically, it's very boring. Let's move on. Alright. Big block of blue now. So, new talent, Cunning, and new talent, Tenacious. Your Spotting Eagle grants either the Cunning specialization or the Tenacity specialization, and you get Master's Call and Pathfinding with Cunning, which is, the pet freedom and movement speed increase, or Air Superiority and Endurance. Endurance training is the max health increase. Air Superiority, I don't know for sure, but I think it might be the new version of Fortitude of the Bear, but I just don't know. They haven't listed it anywhere, unless I've missed it, in which case, my bad. But that's what I'm guessing Air Superiority is. But basically, this is awesome. You get to pick, even as Marksmanship, the pet spec that you want. The only thing that you don't get to pick is the Ferocity Leech, which you probably didn't want anyway, compared to the max health and everything. So this is great. And the Lust is baseline, so you don't have to worry about picking the right pet spec for that. You will always have Lust, and now you just get to pick if you want the extra movement speed or the extra health and stuff with Tenacious. So yeah, really, really good. Very happy with this. Next up is Onaran Winds. When your Eagle applies Spotter's Mark, it has a 25% chance to apply Spotter's Mark onto up to 3 additional nearby enemies. So this just means that Spotter's Mark, it will increase your AoE aim shot damage done, which is neat. We'll probably pick it for AoE. It's pretty baseline, boring, not much gameplay impact, but it's cool. Okay, new talent, Double Tap. Now, don't get too excited. Hear me out. Casting True Shot grants Double Tap, causing your next aim shot to fire at 100% power, or your next rapid fire to fire 100% additional shots during its channel. Now, I don't know exactly how we'll play this. So basically, it's not the ability that we always wanted, that we used to have, if you remember that. That if it was, I would have marked it blue. But essentially, it bakes the effect into you popping your True Shot. And then you just have to choose, do you use it on doubling your aim shot or your rapid fire? We'll see what the theory crafting ends up being, because remember, like baseline, rapid fire does way more damage than aim shot. But with all of the potential modifiers that we can give to aim shot, maybe it's going to be better on aim shot after all. So we'll see about that. But overall, a little bit of extra upfront burst in True Shot is not a bad thing. So I'm pretty positively inclined towards that. All right. Next up is Killer Mark. Spotter's Mark now additionally increases the critical strike chance of aim shot by 15%. I mean, this is just another one of those modifiers for aim shot. It's quite powerful. It's pretty boring. Like, crits are fun, but if you crit all the time, they suddenly stop being as much fun. And if you turn off your DPS meter or you turn off your damage numbers, you don't actually really know if you're critting or not. That's why I'm not such a big fan of just increasing the critical strike chance and damage of abilities. Alright, even if it can be powerful. Next up is Deadeye. So Killshot now has 2 charges and has its cooldown reduced by 2 seconds. It's a choice node with Headshot. And Headshot was... I've already talked about Headshot, or have I not mentioned it yet? Let's talk about a Headshot. So Headshot is... so this is what makes Killshot benefit from precise shots and consume it. So they explicitly write here that the Headshot has substantial rotational implications. I don't know if it's that substantial. It means that you'll want to spend precise shots on kill shots. That's about it. Deadeye should provide a simpler option for players who want to improve kill shots throughput without substantially increasing cognitive load. I don't really agree that it's a huge bit of cognitive load, but presumably they've playtested it and I haven't yet, so maybe they're right. But it's tuned. So this is kind of interesting because they don't explicitly say this too often, do they? They've said this talent is intended to be weaker, but simpler to play for people who want that. I think it's nice that the option is there since it's a choice node. So I'm fine with it. Alright, Streamline update we talked about. Precise Shot renamed back to Precise Shots. Fundamentally it does the same as always, but there's this last thing, and you guys can tell me what I'm missing about this. Your auto shot damage is increased by 100%, and it increases the damage, the time between the auto shots. So it makes you auto shots fire way more slowly, but doubles the damage to compensate. Now, the problem, of course, is that the damage increase is flat, but the timing, so the damage increase is relative, like 100%, but the time increase is a flat 2 seconds. Which means that if you have a lot of haste, then it's like it seems to scale. Am I wrong? Or is it scaling negatively with haste in this case? Like it just seems kind of weird. I think it's just a way of them they basically want auto shots to not fire as often. We'll see part of why in the set bonus section. I just think it's kind of weird. Yeah. All right. Next up is focused aim. Precise shots, we talked about this a little bit. Precise shots reduce the cooldown of aim shot by 0.75 seconds. I assume this means like when you consume precise shots with explosive shots, arcane shots, kill shots, it will reduce the cooldown of aim shot. That's fine by me. It's a choice node with improved streamline though, so you either choose cooldown reduction on aim shot or cast time reduction. I think cast time reduction is going to be more fun. I hope it's going to be stronger, but we'll see. Alright, next up. True Shot has been redesigned. Increases your critical strike chance and damage by some amount for 15 seconds. So this is basically the exact same thing that the Unerring Vision talent used to do, but now it is all of what Aim Shot does, all of what True Shot does, plus the reduction on cooldown of Aim Shot and Rapid Fire. So, I mean, I write here like crit chance, crit damage, they're pretty boring. So note that it no longer reduces the cast time of aim shot, so we're getting that cast time reduction on aim shot from other sources now. So I'm not too worried about that, but I just think like you're gonna pop your true shot and it's basically just gonna be, yeah, you do more damage. You crit more and your crits do more damage. I find that to be quite a significant reduction in fun of what has historically been a very fun cooldown. So I'm not such a big fan of this. Maybe I should mark it red, but nah, I'm gonna let it stay yellow. Next up is Razor Fragments has been updated. Now only triggers when Death Blow is gained. It used to be you would get it all the time when you consume trick shots. You would get these kill shot AoE procs. They basically just more overtly or explicitly turning it into a single target talent, it seems to me. I'm fine with it. Calling the shots has been updated, so this is the thing that reduces the cooldown of True Shot. It used to be based on focus spend. Now it's based on consuming Spotter's Mark. And it's back to being a choice node with Unerring Vision. I mean, I don't know if numbers-wise it's going to reduce the cooldown of True Shot more than it used to. So I'm kind of neutral on it, since I don't really know what the numbers are going to shake out like. Alright. Next up is Unerring Vision has been updated. Although, I don't know, like, to me it just looks like it already does what it used to. It increased, well, okay, it doesn't stack up to 10 times anymore, it's just a flat. It used to be that it would stack over time up to its full effect. Now it just always has that effect, but it's It now increases your critical strike chance by an additional 10% and an additional 20% crit damage. So it's basically it just makes True Shot do more of the super boring passive thing that it already did. And you invest 2 points of your talents to get this extremely boring, very low gameplay impact CD. It still reduces the cooldown of your stuff, so it's not low gameplay impact, but it just feels like a step backwards for True Shot. And now we get this stupid choice node that it's probably going to be quite powerful, but it's just extremely boring. I think Unerring Vision could, I don't know, paste, something like that. It could be way more interesting. The updated bullet storm we've talked about. This is a weird one. Another one I might need explained to me. So, in the rhythm has been updated. It used to be that when you channel rapid fire, it increases your haste. Everyone pretty much liked that. Now, it reduces the time between auto shots by 1 second for 12 seconds. So instead of you getting haste that will improve the feel of everything, speed up everything and feel good, you now get faster auto shots? I don't get it. Feel free to explain it to me. Alright, next up is Feign the Hammer, which has been renamed to Ammo Conservation and been updated. Why is it called... I mean... Yeah, okay, so what does it do? It doubles the amount of casts or like projectiles fired by rapid fire. That seems like the opposite of ammo conservation to me. It's saying rapid fire now fires more shots more quickly. How is that ammo conservation? Anyway, it also reduces the aim shot's cooldown by 1 second. I don't see how that's ammo conservation either, but whatever. Little buff, cool, whatever. Multi-shot is now baseline, so that's cool. Extra talent point. Aim shot damage increased by 20%. We don't really care about the numbers right now. Aim shot cast time increased to 3 seconds. So I've put this as yellow because I don't know exactly how this will shake out in terms of the average aim shot cast times that we can expect. I think it's going to be roughly similar, but we'll see. Rapid fire now grants 2 focus per shot instead of 1. So this is good. It used to feel like it basically didn't generate any focus, but now it's definitely going to feel like something. Volley damage has been doubled, so that's cool. It always used to feel a bit weak. Now, volley was always great, but it wasn't its damage, right? It was the fact that it activated trick shots that was so OP. So the fact that it now does stronger damage, that's good. Steady shot damage increased by 30%. I wrote, it's still almost nothing, so whatever. Steady shot now grants 20 focus. Good, so that's baseline now. Small Game Hunter now increases explosive shots damage by 15% instead of 25%. So this is a nerf. But it's probably fair considering we're getting so many more explosive shots than we used to. Especially in our single target rotation. So I'm okay with that. Pin Cushion is now baseline. So this was the talent that when you cast Steady Shot, it will reduce the remaining cooldown of aim shot by 2 seconds. That's now baseline in Steady Shot, and everyone pretty much liked that talent. So that's a good thing. Salvo is now passive and only triggers from volley. Which is fine, because we always macroed it anyway. Practically speaking, there's kind of a nothing change. It's also now choice node with kill zone, which is interesting. So kill zone is basically what you do increase damage to everything inside your volley, which you will now get more of with reduced cooldown, and the volley itself will do more damage. But both of those seem really good for AoE. So now you have this choice node that's like, okay, 2 really good AoE options that are basically increases your volley's burst damage. They do the same thing in different ways, and you're just going to pick which one is numerically stronger, and you're never going to pick the other one. So this seems like a bit of a confusing choice node to have, in my opinion. Alright, next up is Surging Shots will now properly highlight rapid fire when its cooldown is reset. It's a UI change, it's good. Fixed an issue that caused kill shot damage bonus talents to apply twice to Black Arrow. It was basically... I mean, it's a nerf, but it's a good one. Many tooltips, talents, and order descriptions have been updated for clarity. Good. Bullseye is now a 2-point talent. So, remember that talent point we got from multi-shot being made baseline? Well, now it's gone again. I don't know why... I mean, I guess they just decided Marksmanship has enough talent points. We don't want to give it anymore. So, it is what it is, I guess. Alright. The following talents have been removed. Barrage, Careful Aim, Chimera Shot, Crack Shot. Barrage, fine. Didn't care for it. Careful Aim, okay. It was kind of lame actually, like, because if there's any point you don't want to do extra damage on, or like the last point in the fight you would pick to do extra damage on is usually the first part of it, which is what Careful Aim did. So I'm fine with this being gone. Chimera Shot has been, like, it used to be the 2-target Arcane Shot button. It didn't even do that successfully, but now we have another 2-target Cleave talent, so I'm fine with that being gone. Crack Shot. I don't even recall what it did. I think it just increased the focus generation of Steady Shot, which is now baseline. So yeah, don't care for it. Heavy ammo and light ammo are also removed now. And this worries me a little bit because it basically means that marksmanship is now hard locked to its target cap of 6. You cannot reduce it and do extra damage on 4 targets, and you cannot increase it and do extra damage on big pulls. It's just 6 targets. Which means that unless marksmanship does insane 6-target AoE and probably single target as well in keys, it'll just never be Mythic Plus meta, because Mythic Plus meta is all about making the pulls larger and larger, and with a hard cap of 6 on the target cap on AoE, that just seems too little for me. So not such a big fan of losing that with no compensation. Hydrospite gone, improved Steady Shot gone, Legacy of the Windrunner's gone. Okay, Crack Shot is what reduced the focus cost of Arcane Shot, which means that presumably now Arcane Shot is actually going to cost quite a bit of focus. We'll see how that pans out. Maybe I don't actually like this so much, because I like this, its functionality hasn't been made baseline. It's not that I cared for the talent so much. Improved Steady Shot is now gone, but it has been made baseline, which is the increased Steady Shot focus regen. So that's fine. Legacy of the Windrunner's gone. Wailing Arrow gone. Lone Wolf gone, obviously. Rapid Fire Barrage is gone. I liked what this could have been. We never got to play with it because it was always undertuned and just kind of a stupid talent. But we always, like, when we first saw it come up in the War Within, we were all hyped for it. Because it was interesting, but it was undertuned and we never got to use it, and now it's disappearing. So I think I've pressed this button like a few times in my life on the PTR, on like the beta of the War Within, and I haven't touched it since. Alright. Readiness gone, that was the Wailing Arrow related thing. Serpent Stalker's Trickery gone, no more Serpent Sting. Steady Focus gone, thankfully. I mean, it was made basically baseline before because it only required 1 Steady Shot to activate, but that also means that it being gone is not really much of a loss. Tactical Reload. I don't recall what it did exactly, to be honest. Which means it can't have been that important. I'm sorry, I just blanked on what it does. On Air Vision, they write that it's been removed, but it hasn't. It's still there, and it basically does the same thing. It doesn't have the stacking up thing, but it's basically the same thing. I don't know why they wrote they removed it, because they kind of haven't. And yeah, Wailing Arrow is gone. I think that's fine, but some people really liked Wailing Arrow because of the Dark Ranger sort of tie-ins and stuff like that. So you let me know what you think. So yeah. Alright. I'm destroyed. I'm still not done. But that's the Marksmanship Rework. So it's hard to explain to you what it's going to be like, also because I don't know for sure, but basically it's going to be about there are way more ways to spend precise shots now. Spending precise shots will now be way more impactful on your aim shot. It's going to increase its damage done. It's going to reduce its cast time. And the idea is going to be, we're going to build up these stacks of streamline and stuff, and we're going to spend them on our aim shots regularly. So it's going to be sort of, that's what I think anyway. It's going to be a sort of rotation where you're going to want to stack up your streamline before casting aim shot, because we basically want to try and avoid ever hard casting really long aim shots. We always want to look for a way to get the cast time as little as possible. And then you will have these mini combos where it's like, okay, you always want to follow up an explosive shot with an aim shot. You always want to weave in rapid fires between aim shots for the bullet storm if you use that talent, and so on. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll see how it plays out on the PTR. Overall, I think it has potential. I think it's an improvement on what we have gameplay-wise, because what we have is quite boring. and it sort of it just adds more stuff. There's just more stuff, right? And marksmanship right now is really basic and boring for the most part. Well, might not be boring, you might like it, but it is pretty basic, let's be honest with ourselves. So yeah, that's marksmanship done. Let me clear my throat, and then we get into survival. Alright, it's not a full rework, it's just a few changes. And they write that they're mostly happy with Survival Hunters gameplay after the 20th anniversary celebration update, but they says that it continues to have a lot of cognitive load around what buttons to press and when. To better condense Survival's rotational decision space, we're making access to butchery and flanking mutually exclusive. Both spells have their own strengths and nuances, but having access to both at all times creates a crowded rotation that is absent of filler spells like Raptor or Mongoose. I think they're right about that. I mean, I kind of disagree that it was... I don't think Survival was high cognitive load, but it is true that you didn't have a lot of space for filler. Not inherently a bad thing either, but I do feel like Flanking Strike was always... It felt like the single target Butchery. And Butchery felt like the everything Butchery, because Butchery is so obscenely powerful right now that you press it no matter what. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, Butchery is the AoE ability, Flanking is the single target one. So they're splitting them into a choice node, and I think that's cool. New talent, Call the Herd. Killshot increases the damage units. Now they call them units. It's like we're playing a different game now. That they receive from your bleed effects by 30% for 6 seconds. They basically just took this out of the old pack leader that has now been reworked. It's strong, but it's kind of boring. I'm not such a big fan of it. It's kind of whatever. They write that it was compelling. Matter of taste, I suppose. New talent, Born to Kill. Your chance to gain Death Blow is increased by 5%, so Death Blow are Killshot procs. And the duration of Colder Hurt is increased by 2 seconds. It now increases the damage taken from your Killshot by 25%. I mean, fine, but just like strong but boring. That's why I've marked it red. It's just like, okay, so investing 2 talents for no gameplay whatsoever. I think that's kind of lame. Alright, Frenzy Strikes has been updated. This is the thing that makes Butchery give Wildfire Bomb cooldown reduction. Well, now it also causes Flanking Strike to deal increased damage and increase your your overall attack speed by 25% for 12 seconds, which is quite a bit. And attack speed actually matters a bit for survival because we have a talent that makes our auto attacks reduce the cooldown of our Wildfire Bomb. So I'm quite a big fan of this. Merciless Blow has been updated. Now also causes the enemies damaged by Flanking Strike to suffer heavy bleed over 8 seconds. So this is basically just giving Flanking Strike some of the same bells and whistles that Butchery had from these talents. Alright, next up is Alpha Predator. This is the same as BM. It basically just buffs Kill Command a bit. That's all you need to know. Merciless Blows, Butchery bleed damage reduced by 50%. Huge nerf. Kind of rough as I write, but it's probably too... I mean... It's a single talent point that was worth over 10% of your damage. That is kind of too much for one talent point, let's be honest. But yeah. Tactical Advantage now additionally increases the damage of Butchery. This is the talent that increases the damage of Flanking and Wildfire Bomb by 5%. So, I mean, I put it red because I think it's a boring... But it's not like a new talent or anything. I don't think it deserves to be red. It's just very boring. It's 5% Butchery damage. Grats. Great. And of course, the main thing that sort of you need to take into context with all of this, Flanking Strike and Butchery are now on a choice node. So, makes good sense. I actually like it. And Exposed Flank has been removed, which is this talent that made Flanking Strike cleave that never worked properly. So, won't be missed, at least by me. And that's it for survival. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the last section, which are the new tier set bonuses for all 3 specs. So, let's hop right in. Beast Mastery. Your damaging spells have a chance to hit a jackpot. That's what they're called. It's a new thing they're trying with tier sets. But let's just ignore the names. Your damaging spells have a chance to fire a barb shot at 200% effectiveness. And when you cast Beastly Wrath, it will always cast a barb shot at 200% effectiveness. So Beastly Wrath will now refresh your frenzy for you, which is cool. And it will fire this barb shot at 200% effectiveness. But I assume that I mean, it's kind of boring. Basically, it's boring. Because barb shots, they don't really do much. I mean, it's a dot more than a thing that does heavy damage. So it's not like you sometimes proc something that does a ton of damage. It's like sometimes you proc a more powerful dot. But the thing is, overall the ticks and overlapping ticks of your barb shot dot, like it'll just kind of get flattened out. And yeah, I think it's kind of boring. But when you do hit, or when you do get this barb shot proc, you infuse your pet with a mutagen that causes its auto attacks to deal nature damage, effectively increasing their damage by around 30% because nature damage isn't affected by armor, and up to 5 enemies within 10 yards for 10 seconds. So your auto attacks from your pet, as part of your 4-set bonus, will now do AoE damage, at least up to 5 targets. So, and that's on top of Beast Cleave, so that's kind of neat. It's low gameplay impact, but it's a bit of, it hits both single target really well and AoE, so, and it also reduced the cooldown of Beast of Wrath by 1 second. So I think it's okay, nothing special. I think maybe it's a slightly greener shade of yellow, but I think I'll keep it yellow. Alright. Next up is Marksmanship tier set bonuses. Your 2-set bonus is your damaging spell have a chance to hit a jackpot that increases your auto shot damage by 600% and reduces the time between auto shots by 2 seconds for 10 seconds. So, I mean, I still don't really... Okay, so actually what this will do is that we still have lock and load, which is keyed to our auto shots. So auto shots generate instant aim shot procs that now do extra damage thanks to lock and load, if you talent into that. And while lock and load itself is pretty boring, if you are reducing the time between aim shot auto shots by 2 seconds for 10 seconds, that means you will get far more... like when you get these 2-piece procs, you will get far more lock and load procs during those moments. And lock and load procs are fun. And when you cast True Shot, you will always trigger this. And so during True Shot, you will get a ton, or I don't know about a ton, but you will get significantly more lock and load procs, which is neat because that means, you know, with all the instant abilities that we're weaving between our aim shots during True Shot, you know, maybe you'll be able to be quite mobile during True Shot thanks to lock and load procs. So we'll see. And also, when you do consume lock and load, which you get a ton more of from your 2-set bonus, you also fire an explosive shot at 200% effectiveness. Like, this could get nasty. Like, I wrote right here, it could be pretty absurdly powerful, and seeing these huge explosive shots go off constantly could be kind of fun. And also, remember, let's just go up here a little bit. Remember this talent that was like, when you aim shot damages a target affected by explosive shot, they will instantly explode, dealing 25% increased damage. So your aim shots are firing explosive shots, and casting aim shots during them will, you know, potentially trigger more of them, and it's just going to be like aim shots explosions. I think it could be quite powerful, and I also think it's kind of cool. It is, objectively speaking, the gameplay impact is not that huge, except maybe getting more lock and load procs, but I don't know, there's something about it. I just like it. Alright, next up is Survival. 2-set bonus. Your spells and abilities have a chance to activate a winning streak, increasing the damage of your Wildfire Bomb by 3%, stacking up to 6 times, so 18% Wildfire Bomb damage when it's stacked up. Every time you press your Wildfire Bomb, there's a 15% chance that it will remove your winning streak. Okay, so it's like a casino thing. It's like you want to keep the streak going. There's nothing you can do to keep it going for longer. It's just full casino, which I don't like, but yeah, it is what it is. The 4-set bonus is actually pretty decent though. When your winning streak does end, you get a super powerful kill command that deals 200% additional damage and generates 3 stacks of Tip of the Spear instantly. So I guess it'll kind of soften the blow, like the psychological blow of losing your winning streak. I don't know, maybe green is being a little bit too generous. Like, it's not that cool. I guess what made me put green at first is like, I like the cyclical nature. It's like you keep the winning streak and then it ends, but then you get this powerful kill command and you get 3 stacks of Tip of the Spear, and sort of like, it gives you a little bit, it's like you've just been knocked down, but you get up again. You know, that's kind of the vibe I get from this sort of set bonus. So it's somewhere between yellow and green for me. Alright. That's all for now, friends. I'll be back with more videos as additional changes are announced and as the PTR comes out. And if you like this kind of content and want to support what I do, please do check out my Patreon, linked in the description and here on the screen, when I can scroll up to it at least. As my patron, you will get access to my optimized Hunter DPS UI and WeGars, my Hunter Compendium with the best builds, tips and tricks for raiding and Mythic Plus dungeons, and coaching as well. Either you can have like VOD or log reviews where I just make a video or just write to you, reviewing all your logs and stuff, or one-on-one Discord coaching where we literally call up in Discord and I just teach you Hunter straight up. All of that's available on my Patreon, so please check that out. I've also linked the spreadsheet that I'm looking at here in the description and maybe a pinned comment as well, and I'll keep it updated as information rolls in. I'll probably as they announce future changes, I will make new sheets. Like this is December 20th. I'll update things as they get updated, of course, too, but I don't know exactly what I'll do. But I'll want to keep this spreadsheet alive so that as the PTR develops, you can always check back in the spreadsheet and basically see. I'm not saying that it's telling you what you should think, but it's giving you a rough idea at least of what I think if you value my perspective. So that's the goal. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, happy hunting holidays or whatever you celebrate. And until next time, peace.